And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Mastermind here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. My name is Kidi Obiawadu, aka the Conscious Rasta. On Sundays, I am joined by my colleagues, our fellow researchers, and we look deep into what is happening all across the paradigm of Pan African affairs. We look at culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Sunday, November the 30th, the year 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6266 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place. And let me just click a couple of buttons in the background, and then I'm going to bring on my esteemed colleagues for today. And bear with me for being late to the party. I got a little caught up in affairs around the studio, but we have you up on the board today. Baba Junius, how are you doing today?
I'm well, doing well, and anticipating today's program.
Great. And Brother Dwara, we have you up on the house today. Excuse me for being late today, Baba, but we are with us. How are you, Brother Dwara?
Baba, I am doing great. It is so great to join both of you, esteemed and noble Babas. I am continuing to strive for self-mastery.
That's right. Self mastery is what we strive for around here. This is the mastermind, where self mastery of our cognitive functioning becomes a high priority. Tell me, what do you brothers have on the table for today's discussion?
There's a lot of things. Pennsylvania just passed what they call the Crown Act. It's designed to prohibit discrimination against hairstyles and textures, specifically that have racial implications, like locks, braids, twists, afros, things like that. I think that makes it like the 26th state in this country to have such legislation.
Yeah, very good. Culture is such a very distinct function among people. And I mean, if any state or any city or any municipality can have restrictions against African hairstyles, why would they also not have restrictions on the yarmulke, for example?
Well, that's because there's a distinct power dynamic. No one is going to challenge a yarmulke. Nobody's going to challenge people. I remember in Pennsylvania, they used to have the blue laws, meaning that on Sunday it was designated the day of Sabbath, the day of rest. So there were certain activities that were prohibited. The Ashkenazim, one activity that was prohibited was interment of bodies. You could have the funeral, but you couldn't have the burial on a Sunday. Ashkenazim routinely buried their, in accordance to their laws, they buried their deceased on Sundays. There were other things they did, and obvious disobedience to the laws. So whether they had a special exemption or they just said, jug it, and we're going to do what we're going to do.
Yeah, you're right. Brother Dwara, did you want to comment as well?
Yeah, I've been following the Crown Act over the last couple of years or so. And I personally know brothers of mine who had been fired from positions due to the fact that the establishment that they worked for, in case in point, was a hospital, gave them like a 72-hour notice to remove their braids or their locks, or they would be terminated. At which point they were terminated back then due to hairstyle. The other thing I'll quickly mention is I believe in France, to this very day, Africoid hair is labeled as animal fur.
Whoa. Well, I guess you and I won't be moving to France for any type of
No,
ideological or
thank you.
cultural liberation.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and all the more reason for us to keep our dollars out of their economy. First of all, let me say greetings to our family is checking in. Queen Mother Kashiba, I see you. Sawubona, Grand Rising family, she says. And for Africa One, I see you also, beloved. Hotep, Mastermind Panel, and Global LIB family sending their greetings to each and every one of us. And we send our greetings to each and every one of you as well. Dwara, did you have anything that you wanted to put on the table for today's discussion?
Absolutely. There are several things that I had pulled up. This first one, Meta caught covering up evidence of social media harm on Facebook and Instagram. Basically, according to their own analysis, the internal conclusion stunned company executives, revealing that users who logged off for a certain period of time reported lower feelings of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and social comparison. And so, one of the notes I had for today was if you want, sorry, trying to read my notes here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to destroy your mental and cognitive health, spend more time on social media.
Yeah. Well, I guess a lot of people are going to take you up on that offer
Mm,
because people are logging in more and more. I've been tracking the impact of AI across social media, and it's only going to get worse. From my predictions, it's only going to get worse unless we take a different turn. And I'm inferring by your bringing this up that we should consider disconnecting more and more from social media. Am I correct?
exactly. I'm not saying that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Yet I think that we're we tend to be stuck trying to reinvent the wheel, and our ancestors had it right. And I think even if subconsciously, spiritually knew that when people get together in person and we eat together and we pray together and we build houses and plow the fields together, that creates a sort of social lubrication, a social medicine that cannot be replicated by what they are illusionarily calling social media.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Very.
just as you mentioned that, you have to look at the transformation of this society. What you talked about was collectivism, cooperation in terms of people making their living, like divisions of labor, a communal approach to life. But as we look at how this transformation is morphing out into in this society, you're seeing more and more isolation. You're seeing less cooperation because AI is going to replace a lot of jobs. So more and more people are going to be caught up in not just the AI, but you also have the surveillance.
Mhm.
You have the situation where these huge data centers are being built. People are complaining about their electric bills. They don't realize that their increase in the electricity has nothing to do with their usage. It's the ruling class is forcing us to pay for the usage in these data centers that are becoming larger and larger. There'll be more and more. It's not just electricity, it's water. So it's a whole process and a transformation of society. And as we said just a few minutes ago, one of the best things you can do is disconnect or become more discerning and discriminating about the type of media you consume, you subscribe to, or that you're engaged with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that point you make about be more discerning, be more disciplined in what you do participate in. Hey, that hits close to home. I don't necessarily want people disconnecting from all of the stations that we broadcast on. Yet at the same time, every day I warn the people that the alternative information sources that people have been using, including NPR, are guiding us collectively in the wrong direction, the absolute wrong direction. Hey, dump, 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 dump. It's that
And
time.
it's that time. And
Are you
if I,
ready for the? Go ahead, comment.
oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Baba.
I was just saying, are you ready for our annual roundup of the Christmas consumer holiday shopping and numbers? It's kind of disconcerting.
The ho ho ho, where we act like, well, I never mind. I'm not gonna say it, but
Will we act like sheep, sheep, sheep?
cheap, cheap, cheap. Yeah. So pulling this in another direction, we always also talk about how Yurugu and this Isfetian culture always target the children. I have another article from Slate News. AI teddy bear pulled from shelves after giving children disturbing instructions. This AI infused teddy bear from toy maker Folo Toy. The AI powered teddy bear is called Kuma, and I always wonder how they come up with these names. But the bear told children how to strike matches, how to start a fire, essentially. It also gave children sexually explicit guidance, and they have now pulled this off the shelves. But one has to wonder, this is not the first time. We have seen this in the past, many, many years ago with the Tickle Me Elmo that was all programmed to say certain sexually explicit things and whatnot. And so I also offer this into today's record, if you will, that these technologies are aimed at these upcoming generations. They don't always necessarily care about you, Baba's generation, my generation, just underneath, and they are targeting the minds of the children to normalize and to make entryism into it so that it becomes accepted wholesale. Oh, just give the child an AI teddy bear, and we can continue enjoying our evening without having the children disturb us. That's lazy parenting, part of what is affecting these younger generations.
Now I'm curious, Brother Dwara, was the AI teddy bear connected directly to the internet?
I'm guessing it was. It's powered by OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
Their GPT-40 model, which stood out as the most alarming by far, according to this article.
Yeah, that's
So yeah,
GPT-4.0. Mm-hmm.
I guess it seems like that would be having to be directly connected to the internet, correct? Wi-Fi.
Yeah, because then you would have to break the teddy bear out of its shipping container, packaging container, and
Mhm.
then program it to receive wireless and transmit wireless on your system. I don't know why any parent would want to put their children at such a young age tethered to the internet without personal guidance. Baba Juniors, do you see the point that I'm making?
Yes, but the there's a Bedouin proverb that says once the camel's nose is in the tent, it's only a matter of time before the full animal
Uh,
is within the tent.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying and looking at how what has happened over the past several years, the AI camel's nose is well past the opening in the tent. It's almost totally inside the tent. So you're looking at, if you watch young parents, you look at their children, they're focused on their screens, they're focused on their tablets, they're focused on other gizmos and gadgets. So they're hooked already. And the parents have confidence in this because they say, okay, well, this like you said, this will keep the child occupied so I can do some other things. More than likely, some of the other things that they're doing are going to be AI influenced, whether it's on their job, whether it's on their own gizmos, because every time I get an update on this, there's more and more AI stuff incorporated and integrated into it. So what we're seeing is a not so gradual implementation of AI and invasion and integration into AI. It's here. We need to be aware of it, and we need to be very discerning about what its impact will be in the future. Just like we're not really clear on the impact of, just say, hip hop and gangster rap in the past 50 years that it has had on us as a people, in terms of our behavior, in terms of our values, in terms of our social outlook and how we function and operate.
And as well, as compared to and how it has affected us insofar as relationships between child and the parent, recognizing that the baby boom, or not baby boom, but the millennials generation is now the generation leading the birth of our children now. It was itself a sort of a boom, a reflection of the reflection of the baby boom gave birth to the millennials. Now the millennials are having children, but the relationship between child and parent in those cases, I may be off base, but I'm seeing that the relationship is further breaking down, that the discipline that the millennials are putting on their children is really quite distinct and different from what it was in previous generations. Are you observing the same thing, Brother Dwara?
Absolutely. And I would go so far as to say that, again, this is, well, the devil's playbook, as Baba Junius reminds us, is very thin. And so the widening of the gap between intergenerational relationships, which we know cognitively are best for children. When a child has interaction with both parents and grandparents, that child will be more cognitively and socially developed. That is a scientific fact. And so some of the earliest methods perpetrated by the invaders and the colonizers were to separate the children from their elders. And I think AI is just a modern version of that. Social media, just a modern version of that. Video games, a modern version of that. So that the information source coming typically from the elders gets interrupted, and instead of receiving the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from the elders, the child then is able to receive an outside alien influence that breaks its way in. And it's funny, I have a proverb right here, a Yoruba proverb that says, where elders are present, a child's head will not go astray. So when you remove the elder and you implant video games, social media, AI teddy bears, then basically you're hijacking what their cultural mores and norms will be. And I do believe that is exactly what is happening.
Well, hopefully Christmas will make it better. So the numbers are coming in. I'm going to do a report this week on the numbers regarding Christmas. I do this annually, and I'm starting a little bit earlier this year. I still have yet to debate whether a book that I've been planning to write for the last 3 years in a row will come out this year, because right now I'm kind of so disappointed in book sales that I don't want to write or release any books anymore. And that's a bit of a quandary. There is one book that I do want to get out. I think it will be helpful. But we're looking at these numbers. What are we going to do with Christmas? Couple of numbers. Let me just read four lines. The total U.S. holiday retail sales forecast for November through December 2025 is expected to surpass $1 trillion for the first or second time, with estimates ranging around 1.01 trillion to 1.05 trillion, according to multiple reports, including the National Retail Federation and Forrester Research. African American households account for approximately 12 to 13% of total U.S. consumer spending. That's 120 billion to 130 billion. And Afro-Latino households account for about 12% of the Hispanic group, an estimated 146 billion of U.S. holiday consumer spending. Now, real quickly, from November 1st to November 31st, African Americans and Afro-Latinos combined retail spending is approximately 146 billion. This is like twice last year's and the year before that, my calculations. From late October through January 15, the 80 days of the longer season, it's estimated to be about 152.25 billion. That's for Afro-Latinos and Africans combined. Does that mean anything, or are these just numbers at this point?
I think personally that it means that the fear mongering and anxiety campaign is working, because I'd love to know how much anxiety produced by both media, but especially what they call short form video, the reels and the shorts that we see, which have been proven to cause anxiety. I'm wondering how much of that is tied into retail, and more specifically online kind of impulse shopping, used as what we used to call back in the day retail therapy, to try to calm anxiety. I wonder if there's a connection there.
Yeah.
You also have a cultural pattern and a cultural paradigm. This is not new. It's just has increased. And keep in mind, the United States and this culture, the rulers always talk about progress. And they have embedded in our consciousness progress, bigger, better, more, particularly when it comes to consumerism and materialism. So this is part and parcel to a cultural phenomena. And people are just have lost their mind. I mean, it's not even a conscious decision. I mean, people are just following mindlessly along with these prompts, like Duar said, in terms of the messages that are embedded in these advertisements, these clicks that are on the gizmos and gadgets. So what we're seeing is the total, almost a mindlessness that is permeating the society and this culture, particularly at a time when people are uncertain about economics, uncertain about the economy. Many folks just didn't get paid for a month or so. Other folks are losing their jobs. So you have to ask yourself, is this rational behavior based on all the things that we've just experienced in the past 2 months?
Well, as you alluded earlier, this is a form of therapy, self-administered therapy for people who are anxious about their economic position in the first place. So according to that calculation, it only exacerbates the problem. It becomes a circular problem at that point, and it is, of course, a very rapid downward spiral in our functionality as a group. Now, go ahead. You got the floor.
I was just going to say that is exactly my point. This kind of this unending loop that that occurs, and then throw into that this cultural pressure rooted deeply in crass materialism and hyper consumerism, like Baba Junius mentioned, in which the only expression or proof of loving someone means to buy them something from the store.
Mm, yeah, that becomes real bizarre. Let me send out a few shouts to each and every one of our listening audience. Globe Shabaka is in the house on the Rumble chat. Good afternoon to the panel, guests, and LIB family. I am happy to be here with you all. Osel Kamal is in the house. Greetings, family. And we have Sandra Muhammad is checking in on our YouTube page. She's commenting on what we were talking about a little bit earlier. She says, elders aren't valued in many cases. And unfortunately, that's a very sad determination for our people. I'm not going to give up on our people. We're not going to give up hope. I know you brothers feel the same way I do. But we understand that as time goes on, as the months pass, like Sisyphus, who's the Greek myth of Sisyphus, constantly rolling the ball up the hill only to near the crown of the hill and have it tumble down on his head again. That's kind of the situation that applies to what we are engaged in, what our people are engaged in, constantly rolling that hill to the top of rolling the ball up to the top of the hill, only to have it tumble down on us again, and we start all over again in a worse position than we were at times before.
Well, using that analogy, the boulder becomes larger and heavier because of all the technology. Not just the technology, but also the anxiety and the negative energy. And so now you have to exert more energy to push it up the hill. And you struggle, you get it up there, you're using all this energy that you could be using to do something else to push this boulder up the hill. And then when it gets up to the hill, it comes back down. And then the next day, you got to start all over again. And again, that, it's not a rational type of, it's maladaptive in a sense, in terms of how you're living your life. And that's by design.
I would also argue that psychologically, when you exert that much effort trying to roll that stone up the hill, that's going to create a psychological phenomenon in that because you have invested the time, effort, and energy to try to roll that thing, that you're going to be more attached to it.
Well, I thought it was that all of these technical innovations were supposed to make life easier, more convenient, and more gentle. We have these devices that replace us from having to do such hard work. But then again, now it appears that that has backfired, or maybe it hasn't backfired for those who are designing this larger matrix into which we are increasingly becoming absorbed.
But see, that's what they told us in the 50s. After World War II, when some of their ingenuity and energy was diverted from war, and the operative word here is some, because they still were pushing that empire and the military industrial complex. So you had the consumerism, you had the building of the highways, the expansion into the suburbs. And they said with all these new this is going to make life a lot easier. You're going to have more time, you're going to blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So we've been caught in that loop since the late 40s and early 50s. And it's showing that people just aren't waking up. They're still going for the okie doke.
And it seems that with the invention of the internet, or maybe it was other parts of the digitization of society, it was hijacked from my perspective. Little by little, gradually, it was hijacked to where among the first area of concern I had was the increase of the surveillance network Do you remember when we were talking about the NSA and CIA and all these other surveillance entities? I think that was the early 90s or so. We were very concerned about them intruding ever more into our lives. Now, with the social media networks that Brother Dwara brought up a little bit earlier, and with AI building on top of the internet, on top of the surveillance network, all of this is piling up to the point that the masses of people are being steered into being just sheep. And what makes it worse is all of the sheep can't seem to find a place within the hierarchy of the larger society, can't even find work or a decent income.
Well, they're going to deal with that ultimately with the universal basic income. That's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's called guaranteed basic income. So you're absolutely right. But then you also have to look at this from a tabletop position, stand back and say, this is happening, what we're discussing, but also have to look at it within the context of eugenics and global depopulation. So
Mm-hmm.
all of this is going on at the same time. So they're culling humanity. We say in the United States, the life expectancy is in decline. The quality of health in a lot of our communities and a lot of our demographics are in decline. So this is going on. And then you also have the what I call the zombification of the masses, just the dumbed down, because AI is making us intellectually lazy, even in areas where you would think that it should spur a lot of investigation and a lot of intellectual curiosity, like in higher education, school, things like that. It's just making people lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestor Asa G. Hilliard said that the mind is gone and only a zombie remains. To your point, Baba Junius. And then Baba Akiti, you mentioned something very profound, and it made me think of kind of an analogy. I think the hijacking of the internet is almost like a human hunter's trap. There are these traps that they had in Scandinavia, in those sheets of ice up there, back in the like around 500 BCE. They would create a funnel with these walls of timber, and they would basically try to corral wild reindeer into this funnel where they could easily be killed and gored and hunted. And I think the internet is very much the same thing. Back in the day, you know, it was hard to track people unless you had somebody tailing somebody, or the government needed to get a warrant for a wiretap, and then someone had to physically install that, which we know they did with COINTELPRO. But now, if you can funnel everyone into this trap of the internet, how much easier it is to see what people are purchasing, see what people are talking about, and using these algorithms and these data centers to collect, and using AI to siphon all this information and sort through and analyze all this information. So Artwell Nehemachena, who is a prominent Azanian scholar on neo-captivity, I would call it, says that essentially we are being recaptured, and instead of physical death vessels, we're now being put on digital slave ships. That's exactly what one could argue the internet is. It's a funnel trap. It's a human hunter's trap. It's a way to corral humanity and everybody into this one very easily surveillable funnel, if you will, or in this case, a digital death vessel.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Snowden and Assange tried to warn us about surveillance, what the government was doing at that time. They weren't saying this is going to happen. They were saying this is happening. This is what the NSA is doing. This, when you go back and look at how I believe it was under Obama, they had to go back and retrofit laws to allow for the back doors for the surveillance and stuff that was in these gizmos that had already been placed in them, but they had to go back and make it quote unquote legal. That's what's happening now with Trump and his PayPal mafia, the billionaire bros, the whole surveillance data collection malaise that is up and running and is moving as we speak. They already have some, but trust me, it's going to get much, much broader because they're going to incorporate the satellites, the Earthlink satellite data, imagery, particularly when you get into the biometric facial recognition that's coming.
Or here.
Well, it's here. It's not here in the United States like it is, say, in Britain or maybe Canada or some of the other Five Eyes places, but it's going to get here. And this, again, is what we're talking about, where these data collection, the storage centers are going to be huge. And they're going to be attacks on us where we're going to be paying for our own digital incarceration. And that's what's happening now. With people are complaining about the electricity bills, and they don't even realize that it's not their own personal usage. It's not their community's usage. It's the usage of these data centers that are online already, and it's going to be worse when more and more come online.
A few comments have come in. I do see Brother Osei come out. He is in the Rumble. He asks, where is this data coming from? Due to the fact several thousands of people have lost their jobs. This data that I pull for the holiday shopping season comes from a number of sources. There would be the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It would also come from the Retail Sellers the Retail Sellers Foundation, I think is the name of the group, and a bunch of different sources. There's a group at the University of Georgia that does a lot of research, particularly on African American spending patterns. And so when it all comes down to it, I do, of course, use AI to go into this, and I'm using Perplexity AI. If anybody out there still uses Google, I highly suggest use Perplexity AI for your research these days. It is really quite amazing. So there are a number of different sources. And he says also, our phones are being made to track us and record various conversations. Good point you make. And there was another comment on our, a couple of comments have come into our YouTube family. Flying Guillotine is in the house. He says, salute, comrades, and a special salute to Junius. Junius, you said something that struck with our brother. And he also said, greetings to Omeka. I wrote back to him that Omeka was part of the old Sunday program, the Falcon Forum. Today, with the mastermind, it is Brother Dwara. So, Brother Dwara, you are being confused with Brother Mecca. That's not the worst thing in the world. Brother Mecca was an awesome character. I think Brother Mecca was 6'7" tall. So I don't know whether you're 6'7".
No, I'm more like 6'2", but that's a high honor to be compared with our brother Omeka. And I hope he's doing well. It's been a long time since we communicated.
It has been a long time,
Comes on every now and then. He comes on from Detroit every now and then.
That's not Omeka.
That's Momeka.
Oh, you're talking about from New Zealand, the brother from New Zealand. Yeah,
that's
okay.
right.
Right. Okay, right. Yeah, he hasn't been on in a couple of years.
That's right. Okay. And he said, okay, Dwara, salute. So great to have you in the house. There was another comment. Someone asked a question. Have you seen the Animatrix, Kitty? Watch the Renaissance Part 1 and 2, frightening dystopian film. I am unfamiliar with the Animatrix. Is this a feature film in the theaters nowadays, or does anybody know about
I,
what he's talking about?
I think it's on one of the streaming services. I think.
Okay, I'll check it out and take a look at it, take a look for it, and see what's there. Um, there's so much. It's a little bit overwhelming. We are
But that's what
reporters.
they want. That's what they want us to feel. They want us to feel two things. They either want us to be numb and total zombies, or if you're somewhat conscious, they want you to be overwhelmed, totally overwhelmed, so that you can't make rational decisions. There's so much stimuli coming at you at all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I pull back. And I know people roll their eyes when I say it, but stepping into nature, the original internet, where you were getting information, but it occurred at a much slower rate. It didn't have to flash itself in front of your face. The algorithm is different in nature, and medically, scientifically proven to lower anxiety, to release the feeling of being overwhelmed, to be able to reset. And that is why we need to spend more time in nature, which is something that our ancestors invented forest bathing.
Mm-hmm.
Going
That's right.
through a walk in the forest was one of the most cathartic things a human being can do. The color green, what that does to the brain, to see that many hues of green, that's a form of visual medicine at the very least.
But not only that, they understood that there was a spiritual dynamic to everything.
I'll say.
And it allowed them to immerse themselves in this field of energy, and that energy was sentient, that energy had intelligence, and they attributed it to the creator. So this was like this multi-layered stream of divinity that they were privy to, and they appreciated it. See, the West, because they're so materialistic and they're so aspiritual, and I would say godless, they miss out on a lot of this.
I'll say.
Mm-hmm. All right. I was just in the background looking up and checking out the Animatrix. I get it would be called Animatrix, the second Renaissance Part 1. It is a digital cartoon. I see it streaming in the background. I had not seen it. I think I was aware of it, but I kind of bypassed it after looking at it for a few seconds. But I'll get a chance to check it out in much more detail. Flying Guillotine said it's a prelude to the Matrix in anime. And he said further, they want us hopeless with no spirituality. Isn't that what's under attack? And I would definitely agree. It's not just spirituality, it's culture, it's genetics, biology, attack on having children, attack on family. It is a total assault, full frontal attack from an enemy that wishes to control everything, according to my humble opinion.
Yeah, I call it omnicide. It's an attack on literally everything. It's, the European, they would call it Luciferian, where Lucifer wanted to usurp the power of heaven. From our perspective, from an African perspective, it's Sethian, where Seth wanted to overthrow Asar and take upon himself the rulership of the society. And so the war that came about was to restore Ma'at. And so that is the Asarian drama, but it's also on a micro level, it's also something that happens to us that we talked about earlier, self-mastery. We have to overthrow the Set in us and allow Heru to emerge and become the righteous ruler.
And
So,
you can't control people that are self-mastered. I think that's back to one of the points that came up a minute ago, is that when we are distracted or not in focus, when we're undisciplined, when we have no self-control, when we're addicted, when we are doing retail therapy in order to quell the chaos, the isfet that is inside of us, brought upon this culture, this despiritualized society, then it's exactly that. We're more controllable because we're not self-mastered at that point.
Yeah, omnicide. I did look that up, Baba Junius. And omnicide, the total extinction of the human species as a result of human action. Most commonly, it refers to human extinction through nuclear warfare, but it can also refer to such extinction through other means, such as global, anthropogenic, ecological catastrophe, and lethargica. Lethargica, it's like people don't even care.
Right. Just don't even, just walking around like zombies. And the second definition, that's what I'm talking about, where all life is under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Ecocide, homicide, and the whole notion where in their minds they want to control, to kill the very notion of God. And I don't mean God from a Eurasian perspective. I'm talking about a God from an African perspective, the creator and sustainer of the universe. They want to usurp that.
They
Wow.
believe that they are God. When Ray Kurzweil was asked if he believed in God, he said not yet. He said not yet, that they were going to invent God. That type
Mm.
of psychotic, narcissistic, delusional, just Setian thinking is what, back to that word progress that you so eloquently broke down. That's their definition of progress.
Right. And it amounts to the total. I don't mean just partial. I mean the total usurpation of everything. They want to control with GMOs, with designer babies, CRISPR, the transhumanism, the cyborgs, the what do they call them, chimeras, all of that, and that's what they view as the great awakening. That's transhumanism, where we move beyond the limitations of being human. Never mind the fact that under their watch, most people have been deluded into thinking we're something else than what we really are, which is divine beings. So that's a whole piece that if you stand on a corner or you're trying to explain to people, they just mock you, because we've been conditioned to believe so much that is untrue and incorrect and lies about ourselves.
I'm looking at omnicidal from Merriam-Webster Dictionary, excuse me, and they have this quote from Joseph Rotblat, quote, "Yet the continuation of the human species can no longer be taken for granted. It has been endangered since the onset of omnicidal weapons first demonstrated in 1945 in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction of these cities heralded a new age, the nuclear age, the chief characteristics of which is that for the first time it has become possible for man to destroy his own species in a single action." Wow. Beyond the destruction at the hand of Urugu of the human species, roaches, rats, snakes, spiders, and others may ascend to become primary order of species on this planet.
Well, but keep in mind, they're steadily attacking all life. That's why I call it omnicide. It's all life. So Gates has these GMO or modified mosquitoes. Somebody else has these modified rats or whatever. So it's only a matter of time before they have a whole list of things that they want to. And in fact, when you stop and think about some of the clonings that they've done,
right?
Look at some of the goal. Of course, they always talk about, oh yes, we're going to have this implant where it'll be able to give sight to the blind. They don't tell you what they really want it for in terms of just being tied to the Matrix. It's not going to be like the movie where the heroes were linked to the Matrix and everybody else was walking around like zombies. They want us this bio enhancement, bio digital convergence, all of that. That's what they're talking about. The Internet of Things. When you look at what the World Economic Forum is talking about, when you look at some of the things that Creswell and all his ilk are talking about, it is truly Sethian in terms of that kind of consciousness and that kind of mentality. And say 100 years ago, that would be considered science fiction, or some folks might even have laughed at it.
Right.
They are on the verge of bringing this about as we speak.
And to think of the mentality that is required, it's not an easy thing to try to explain because we are highly spiritualized. But even the notion that these people are so atheistic in their disbelief of any type of spirituality that they believe that this was all just some happy accident or unhappy accident for that matter. There is no design. They, as the Johnny-come-latelys on the historical scene, are the superior ones that have come to supposedly save us all with their mad scientist insanity, and they're just experimenting at such a high rate that they hope that that's going to lead to some sort of utopian perfectionism in their mind, when the reality is humility precludes us to understand that it's already perfect.
Yeah, but see, there are elements within this. They're not monolithic. They don't all think alike. They have the same agenda in terms of goals, where they want to control and they want to be in domination of the planet. And beyond, because they're talking about colonizing Mars.
Right.
But you got to understand, there are some who believe in what Petey called last week white sorcery. That whole notion. That's why they've studied us so intently.
Right.
And that's why they don't want us to get back in connection with our spirituality, because that's what we use to defeat them. On many occasions. So, but they have expropriated it, and they're using it for their nefarious means and their ends.
Well, it's going to be an interesting journey forward. Couple more comments. Flying Guillotine asked a question: will Earth be fine without humans? That's an interesting question. It has been said, and many of us have come to believe, that humans were created to be companions for the gods. We made man in our image. But at the same time, other people say that's just whack, and that has no more reason for belief than Noah's Ark trying to cram 10 million animals onto, at least 10 million or 10 billion animals onto a boat. So, will Earth be fine without humans? I say Earth is going to continue. Earth is consciously a conscious being, according to my analysis, and the conscious being will not die, not at man's hands, unless they do attempt to fire off all the nukes. But then again, Earth will still live through that.
Yeah, all living things adapt. And just as Katie said, which is something that the Urugu can't grasp, is the earth is a living thing. It's a sentient thing. It has its own intelligence that our people, the indigenous people, were in tune with and we could talk to. You know, George Washington Carver said the plants spoke to him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is real for us, for our reality. But for Urugu, that's not their reality. So keep in mind that they're talking about culling the planet of humans, not totally, but to reduce it by billions.
Right.
So if they mishap and they just go overboard in some kind of way, human beings disappear, the earth will continue. It will adapt, even though one of the roles of creation was to give the creator, which is a spirit, material experiences through us. And of course, we took it and said, okay, let's make sure that these experiences are driven and fashioned by a higher consciousness. That's what this is all about.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a connection, and there's an infinity amongst us and the Creator. It's the ultimate Ubuntu. Creator says, I am because we are. You're here. You're part of creation. We say, I am because the Creator exists. The Creator exists in us.
I see.
And others say, part of Urugu, that God chose them to be his chosen people. So therefore, according to that logic, God, so-called God, would abandon all of the rest of us and preserve just his chosen people to rule over what would be left.
Sure. That's what the whole chosen people, promised land mythology is all about. Remember, their notion of God, their idea of God, told them to go. I mean, stop and think about this. If the Creator is the most powerful and most wise and most knowledgeable entity in the universe, why would he need to promote genocide to give his group, his buddies, his chosen people something on the planet?
Makes no logical sense.
I mean, first of all, that doesn't make any sense. But then again, it shows their mentality because that's their concept of God.
How would the chosen people not even be able to stand in the full brunt of the noonday sun, and yet they're the chosen ones?
Yeah, we could dissect that specific chosen position piece by piece. I'm sorry, Baba Junior, for cutting you off.
Well, but see, that's again where we're intellectually lazy. And because it was imposed upon us through the so-called Judeo-Christian process, which is not a process because a lot of things Christians believe, the Jews don't believe. They don't believe in original sin. So if you study them, you study what they say, and you do it within the context of African or indigenous and aboriginal cosmology, you see that they're psychopaths. They're sick. That they would say their God would do something like that. And that doesn't preclude aboriginal people from coming up with crazy notions about God, human sacrifice, things like that. But looking at them, it's clear. I mean, first of all, a minister would be hard pressed to stand up today and give a sermon on the Israelites wiping out the Canaanites and the Amalekites and all those other people. Yet that's what Netanyahu and all his people are saying. They're using the biblical terms, the names for the people of Gaza, the people of Lebanon, the people, all of that. That's how deep or how sick they are, because they're not even genetically connected to those people. They've just taken the stories and amplified them, embraced them, internalized them, and then forced everybody else, or the majority of people, to go along with that stuff, particularly in the West.
I'll give you an example of how sick and psychopathic and confused and demented and deranged this Uruguayan disease has become. This article is literally entitled "Not Satire." Gender confused man says he wants to be the first trans woman to have an abortion. And that's a genuine article. That's a real person who wants to become the world's first man that becomes a woman, so he can be the first man that became a woman to have an abortion. What kind of mental illness is that?
That is mental illness compounding mental illness. It's like 3 degrees of mental illness there.
Oh my goodness.
That does sound like satire.
It does, but it's not, unfortunately.
Where did you get that from?
That is from LifeSite, and I'll put the link up in the private chat so you can push that for your reading entertainment.
All right, and I see a couple of other things you put up in there as well. LifeSite News.
Correct.
All right. Well, we wish him well. Hopefully, once he finishes all of that, we can get an interview with him for LIBRadio. Only if he's African.
He's definitely not African.
All right. There are a couple of other stories going on. Jasmine Crockett is in the media. She kind of stays in the media, the highly articulate and somewhat volatile Texas House of Representative member, Jasmine Crockett. The headline is Jasmine Crockett. If we're kicking people out of America, start with white supremacists and Melania Trump. We can have some fun with that headline. What does she say? She says, if you're going to be kicking people out of the country, Melania Trump is in here on the Einstein visa. And there is no doubt Melania Trump comes here more on the Epstein visa than the Einstein visa. Any comment on Melania Trump's getting through the visa process, fast tracking?
I don't know about anything like that, but there's no one in their right mind would equate her with Albert Einstein in terms of intelligence.
Well, Donald Trump did.
Well, but I mean, where is the evidence of that?
His pocketbook. Now, I would say his pocketbook would be the only evidence. Donald Trump got Melania Trump into this country on an Einstein visa, which was supposed to only allow the best and the brightest to come into this country. The Einstein visa had to do with many Indians getting into America and other things such as that. People who could contribute to research and development that America very much said it needed, even though it was bypassing huge segments of its own population in benefit of just a small minority of the super intelligent ones that they could find from India and China that they wanted into this country. And Melania Trump did get in on that. But now with the Epstein papers coming out in much more depth, you can see Melania Trump is associated in that circle. In fact, it was said, this is reported on the media, so it must be true. It was said that Donald Trump had his first intimate relations with Melania Trump on Epstein's plane, the Mile High Club.
That wouldn't surprise me for 1 second.
But see, the thing is, the tragedy of Epstein is being trivialized.
Mm-hmm.
It's so deep and so convoluted. He was involved in Wall Street.
Yeah.
He was involved. See, he was at the pinnacle of the people who run this country. When you look at this, particularly during and after World War II, who emerges? The banksters, the Wall Street banksters emerge, military intelligence emerges, and then these corporations who helped set up the American empire. And what they did to ensure that America would have no opposition in Europe, even though Europe was bombed out, even though with the Marshall Plan, they were building up Europe, but the caveat was you got to buy from us. You can't impose tariffs, you can't do that. That was all part of what they did prior to the end of World War II. And Whitney Webb has done a great job on the Maxwell family. Gilstein's father was knee-deep, neck-deep, I'll say, in the Mossad, in England and all that. And so that part of it is being suppressed. This part, his involvement with Jamie Dimon and some of the banksters and Wall Street is being suppressed. The last article on Wall Street on Parade and I haven't seen anything from them since then. And I would encourage you to go up Wall Street on Parade. It's time to name the Wall Street financiers in the Epstein files. And that was back in I think September. They haven't posted any. They used to post almost daily or weekly. I haven't seen anything from them since then. So this is much more. This as bad as underage sex trafficking is. That was just part and parcel of a massive honeypot trap hookup with key Ashkenazim who had a lot of money, as well as you could even say the royals over in England who were hooked up, who are Germans, by the way.
Exactly.
Dwara, you were saying?
I unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave at 1:30 on the dot. I have another engagement, so I just want to give you Babas a courtesy and a heads up on that.
All right. Thank you for that warning, and thank you also for being with us. Your commitment to the program is undeniably a great reason for this program's popularity with our audience, and that is, to say the least, very much appreciated.
Asante Sana, Baba.
So going forward, I didn't look into anything having to do with Africa for today's show. Baba Junius, did you get a chance? You and I usually do visit allafrica.com to find some headlines to bring to our listening audience.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There was a coup in Guinea-Bissau. They just had an election, and they were scheduled to announce the winners, and the military took over. So there's a piece on Al Jazeera. There's something on All Africa about it, and the coup was well, the military supposedly took over because there was an alleged coup or plot to sabotage the election results. The coup leaders haven't shown any evidence of that. That's what they're saying. Of course, now they're saying that a lot of that it's a narco state. So with that, look for somewhere down the line, Trump trying to do some interdiction or intervention there, somewhere down the line. So that, and the other thing is Trump bans South Africa from the 2026 G20 summit, which will take place in America.
Can Trump ban a country from participating with the G20? That doesn't make any sense to me. One would think that the other G20 members would exclude themselves from coming to America for the conference as well. Didn't Trump just keep the United States out of participating in the G20 conference that took place I think it was in Cape Town.
It was in South Africa. He refused
South
to
Africa.
come because he said that the South Africans were engaged in genocide against whites. Remember
So
that?
what
That goes back several months.
do you think Trump will be able to get away with banning South Africa from coming to G20
Well,
without paying the price?
yeah, because keep in mind it's not Trump. Remember, all of this is against South Africa because they took the bold and courageous stand to take Israel to the International Criminal Court.
Mm-hmm. For which a number of the European continental countries, European Union, a number of their members agreed with that.
Yeah, but they didn't take the action. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
file the papers. They didn't stand up, and they didn't point to the atrocities that were going on. There were some countries that supported them, a couple of global South countries that supported them, but it wasn't like they stood up and put themselves at risk. And I say they put themselves at risk because all of this is payback, and the Zionists are going to do everything they can to take out South Africa, to bludgeon their image, to make them look bad, to undermine their economic policies, despite the fact that they are in the BRICS alliance. It's all about payback. And you know that they are ruthless and relentless when it comes to paying people back.
Yeah, that's true.
They are ruthless and relentless. Did you want to comment further on that, Brother Dwara? Or you just agree?
No, I just agree. I mean, even former CIA agents who have gained popularity on YouTube and social media have said that typically the Mossad will stop at nothing to prove its point or to rescue Jewish people, even if there's collateral damage. They're, like Baba said, they're just that claw that will stop at nothing to keep raking at the soil.
The other thing now is that there are claims out there that the Mossad or the Zionists had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder. I don't know if that's true. I think that there's a smidgen of plausibility to that, but as an outgrowth of that, they're saying that Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and two other guys are also on their hit list.
Well, Candace Owens just came out the other day saying that she was contacted by a very high up official from the French government, warning her that they had some intel apparently that she might be targeted for assassination as well. But one never knows.
But they're saying that they're going to use the French as a cat's paw to get it done. So I don't know.
Well, ironically, they also tried to use France as the cat's paw to get it done from Malcolm. I can remember in Jan Carews' book, Ghosts in Our Blood, phenomenal book on Malcolm and his family, especially about his mother, which we never really heard too much about biographically. And he claimed that France would not let Malcolm's flight returning from Egypt to land in France because the assassination was going to happen in France originally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind their reach is global. So there's no, I mean, you can run and you might be able to hide for a while, but once you are on the top of their priority, they're going to come after you. And I'm not saying that they're always going to win, because they don't. But that's the image that they want to project, that they're invincible, that they're the smartest guys in the room, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I did post up the link to the book, Ghosts in Our Blood by Jan Carew. And thank you for that reference. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I do see a few comments have come in. I'm going to go back to the Rumble page for right now and get through these real quick so we can make maximum use of your time while you're with us, brother. We do have Queen Mother Kashiba. Can the earth fight back since it is an all-knowing being? Volcano, earthquake. Speaking of volcanoes, one just erupted in Ethiopia. The Rift Valley will enlarge. Very good point. She writes further, Epstein was an Israeli spy and can spill the tea on many governmental people and others. And I think she's right on point. Anybody want to comment on the earthquake in the volcano erupting in Ethiopia or Epstein?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that last week, but we just didn't get a chance because it happened on the 23rd. It happened last Sunday, I believe. But there wasn't a lot, because it was ongoing. There wasn't a lot of information about it, just the fact that it had erupted, and because it had been dormant for so long, for hundreds of years. So that was something significant. Just to comment, the earth is a sentient being. There are a lot of things going on, just like there are a lot of things going on in our body. But keep in mind that the Creator is not, the creative energy is not about an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. It's about balance and harmony.
I see.
That's why God is so important. And when you're talking about Ubuntu, you're talking about the collective. And so it has to make adjustments to those elements within the collective that are out of balance. That's why I was talking about last week, in the Asarian drama, Seth is not killed. Mm-hmm. He's put in check.
Right.
And many say that our egos are set. And so the goal when the microcosm is for us, our higher consciousness, the Haru, our higher consciousness, is to put Set, our ego, in check. We need the ego to get things done. It's a driving force, but it can't be the leader, because that creates major problems. So to her point, yes, the earth is sentient. Yes, it is a living thing, but it doesn't go after the people that are acting crazy. It's about trying to restore balance and harmony. Now, in the process, if that happens and something happens to the crazies, well, that's almost like collateral damage, but it wasn't deliberate.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Good point you make. Double checking right now. I see one more comment has come in. Brother Juma has joined us on Rumble. He says, and I think he's talking about Trump. This deals with Trump excluding the South Africans from coming to the G20 in America. It says, quote, he can, in order to stop black rule, until the Western Cape process is completed. And I take it by the Western Cape process, Juma is referring to a theory that the whites want to create their own homeland in the Western Cape province in South Africa, even though I pretty much have dismissed all of that. But Juma is referring to that.
Well, you hear it out, put out there. It's no different than there are. If you go into a browser and you look at succession in the United States in 2025, you'll see that there are several counties, that there are several other municipal entities that want to secede from various states or cities in the United States. It's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying whites don't have enough power to actually secede. I do feel that there's some movement there, and that movement would have a lot of support from people like Trump, who is a puppet of the Zionists. The Zionists would love that.
Right.
Just like for real, the Zionists had a major influence in why Sudan was bifurcated. That was not on the table prior to the leader's plane going down.
And a news headline of today is that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is asking for the President of Israel to pardon him. And it is being said that this is an attempt for him to cover his own in the event that his party loses its position in the next election, which Israeli parliamentary elections are scheduled for next year, is that if they lose in the next elections and he gets thrown out as prime minister, that he will then be immediately prosecuted for bribery and other things, that crimes against the Israeli government took place under his watch.
Well, keep in mind, a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump wrote a letter on his behalf to the president of Israel, suggesting that he be pardoned and exonerated. So, and the other thing is, I mean, that's just there are several cases against Netanyahu. That's why he's desperately clinging to power, because in his mind, if he can accomplish Greater Israel, the Yanan plan, he will become a hero. He that will seal his legacy. Now, there are others who are just as radical and even more so than him, especially those far right groups.
Likud party members.
Yeah, well, yeah, but there are other splinter groups. Remember, he came in because of a coalition of groups, all consorted together, that helped him get over the hump. And some of them, if you think he's bad.
Yeah. You know something? We've just been joined in today's conversation by Brother Mumbera. Welcome, Akwaba. Brother Mumbera, what a joy it is to have you with us today. He's going to unmute himself.
Yeah, I saw the prompt that said there's 2 on audio only. So
yeah.
He has to unmute himself.
All right, so Brother Mumbera, hit that unmute button and we'll have you on the program as soon as possible. Going forward, does any members of our audience care what happens to Netanyahu? I think it's important, but I wonder, do our people care?
Well, we should, because Israel and the Zionists are the major mischief makers in the world today. I mean, they're not the only ones, but they are the major ones. They have their tentacles in everything. That's what makes the Epstein and Maxwell situation so insidious.
Yeah, and I do agree Israel is probably the greatest corrupting factor influencing American foreign policy as well. My brother Mombera did unmute for a minute. We do want to hear what you have to say, so at any time, unmute yourself and join the conversation. Please, brother Mombera. And someone says, Flying Guillotine says, outstanding commentary. And he says, put that guy in exile. And I don't know whether he's talking about Netanyahu or Trump or all of the above, including Bill Gates and a whole bunch more, George Soros. There are corruptors of the idea that we are capable of governing ourselves in a righteous way.
Ashe. I'm sorry, Babas. I have to step out. I'm sorry that I won't be able to join the three of you now if Baba Mombera steps up onto the stage. But to be continued. More is to be revealed. I appreciate all of you, Babas, and the global LIBRadio family. Let us continue to support Baba Kidi and his great works. Those books make great gifts. I know I'll be ordering some. So appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you,
man.
Thank you. Will do. Will do. Thank you, Babas.
Midase. Okay, and Mombera has stepped off the stage as well. Hopefully, he will now step on and fill up that great void in the conversation left open by our brother Dawara as well. Yeah, Flying Guillotine says, put that guy in exile. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them I'd like to put in exile. Baba Junius, I know you have.
In ancient times, that's what that was one of the solutions. Rather than kill them, they would be banned. They would be exiled, kicked out. And there are some who believe that's the origin of the Eurasians. They were the ones who were so recalcitrant that they were kicked out from amongst the blacks, whether it was in Anatolia, India, or even Africa, and they wandered, and they were so recalcitrant that they didn't even embrace the Ubuntu that they were raised in. They became just so predatory. Might makes right. They took advantage of them. The theory that I was introduced to and I somewhat have embraced was not just the psychopaths, it was the lepers, the albinos, and some of the other folks. And then they ultimately got trapped up when the Ice Age came. And instead of, say, embracing the Ubuntu culture like, say, the Inuits or the Eskimos do, they just became more ruthless. And they took advantage, the strong took advantage of the weak. And that's the essence, the ethos of their culture.
Yeah, very good. The essence of culture is a thing that unifies or it further divides a people. This week I put together, and I did send you a copy of it. I think I sent it yesterday, the PDF of a PowerPoint presentation. Did you get that from me?
You sent me let me see. You sent me something. Something about Pan-Africans or something.
That's right. It's a Pan-African PowerPoint that I just presented, and I didn't see an attachment. I just saw the. Yeah, it would have been the attachment to that. It should have been there. If not, I'll resend it, no doubt, right away. Okay. But I'm starting to think beyond LIBRadio what to do next, because it doesn't look like LIBRadio is going to survive much past December. It's unfortunate, but that's just the reality is, and we have to accept reality if we are going to stay competitive. So in looking beyond that, I'm looking to all of the connections that have developed over so many years on the African continent, and I think I am being placed in a position to be authoritative on the idea of the Pan-African Renaissance and the idea that Afri-Amers and other diaspora groups would come home and lead that Renaissance. There's so many areas where we could be developing. Just one area in particular. Again, we're talking about Afri-Amers have $1.93 trillion in consumable expenses annually in the United States. Yet the total of over 3 million black-owned businesses contributes only between 207 to 212 billion, not trillion, but billion dollars to the national GDP. Therefore, for every $1 we spend, no, for every $1 we produce, we spend well over $9 in this economy. That's an equation for you. We will never gain wealth at that equation. Do you agree with that?
I agree. And also, you have to view that within the context of the system is covertly and overtly trying to undermine what wealth we have, meaning what land we have. Remember in the 80s and 90s with the takeovers, mergers, and acquisitions, a lot of the larger black businesses were acquired or either run out of business because they refused to go along. So just like they want to kill us off physically, they want to kill us off culturally and economically. And that's something we don't talk about.
Essentially turn us into sheep and nothing more. They're just consuming sheep with no ability to produce even that which we consume. 90 plus more over 90% of what we consume, we do not produce. And so therefore, I was looking at what could we do for our African brothers and sisters that would allow us to move into their economic successes. The Chinese diaspora did it. They came home. They brought their intellect. They brought their positions within American education, university education, and they brought that to China. Now, look, China is purchasing power parity, the largest economy in the world, surpassing the United States. India did it as well. So when we look at what these groups brought home to their people, there's just no denying that the advantage of the diasporans took China and India over the top to become the superpower that China is and the approaching superpower status that India is expected to complete by 2047. Why?
You also have to factor in some of that with the South Koreans as well as the Vietnamese.
True, they all did for self after leaving America. So which group has been in America the longest? Well, Chinese were here for a long time, but we were here 100, 200 years or so before the Chinese started coming in the latter part of the 19th century. The Indians, even more recent, it was after the breakup of the British Empire that the Indians started migrating into the United States. Now you look around at such the motel industry, Indians have a predominant position in that, as well as numerous restaurants, grocery stores, etc., etc. My challenge to the African in America is to see yourself in the context of the global economic picture and see yourself not cast at the lowest hierarchy, forever stuck in a wealth gap that it will take you over 230 years to even get up to where the Europeans are now. So why wouldn't we consider looking to the African continent? I'm just going to name just a couple of areas. We have the African Continental Free Trade Area. 54 countries in a single common market with over 1.564 billion people in that market. What could we sell to 1.564 billion people, especially since we have already a leg up, an advantage there, because they are looking like us. They want to be like us. They want us to be with them and like them. Point two, the exclusive economic zone. Around the entire coast of Africa, you have 200 nautical miles which are available for that country to be able to exploit economically and determine what economic activity takes place in the economic exclusive zone. Right now, you look at Africa, you look off the coast of Somalia, the longest coastline of any country on Africa. That coastline, the coastal waters, EEZ, is being polluted, exploited by these huge farming, factory fishing boats, etc. You can look off the coast of Senegal, Sierra Leone, and other parts in West Africa. The same thing. The Chinese are fishing their waters, depleting their fishermen, the fish in those waters, and the fishermen in those areas are losing income, losing their jobs because of these Chinese markets. And look in the Gulf of Guinea and around western part of Africa, the Europeans, the French, the British, and the Americans are exploiting deep sea oil well drilling, which is taking place in the exclusive economic zone of Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and other parts. Just those three areas. Couldn't we, as a group, take a piece of that $1.93 trillion annual consumption spending and turn that into an investment fund that will stake a play in these three areas on our African continent?
Could means possibility and potential.
That's right.
In order to make that happen, there have to be a change in consciousness. Because keep in mind, you're talking about consumption. You're talking about disposable income. You're not talking about investment. When you look at our people, we don't talk about investment. We're not long-term investment like you're talking about. So what you're going to have is an educational piece that informs and gives examples of these opportunities that this can happen, and so that we actually can believe that we can do it. Unfortunately, our misleadership, that's not what they're talking about. Other than you, and I must admit I don't frequent a lot of forums, but I don't see any other folks talking about a Pan-Africanist approach to economics. Again, I'm not familiar with any organizations or personalities who that is their main priority or their main platform. But I haven't seen anything in my travels across the internet to suggest that that's out there like that. So I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying it's going to require a lot of work and reorientation away from just mindless consumerism.
Yeah. Well, what can I do that can amplify this dialogue within our community?
Are there any like-minded, do you know any like-minded brothers and sisters, either diasporan or here in this country, who are thinking similar to what you're thinking, who are just isolated, that maybe if you were a conduit to bring people like that together, that something could happen?
Yeah, I think that is a part of the plan. In fact, what I did send to you, and I'm going to have to resend it again. I don't see it sitting on my desktop at all, going out, and so I'll send it to you immediately again. I am in conversation with a lot of people, many dozens of people. But it seems like it's more like a case of we've all got our own individual plans and strategies for redeeming ourselves as individuals. Some people want to go strictly as economics. Some people want to go strictly as cultural. And I am looking at the investment field, but I think investment field should be able to support multiple pathways. But I don't know if I have any support at all in this. I mean, I don't know if I have any support in this. I have written, and I just put out a promo again. I've written numerous books on doing this. Though I just put together The African Future, The Global Wellness Economy, and another one, Forged by Fire, Post-COVID African Healthcare and Sovereign Development. I just put those out, promoting them, and after 2 days of promoting them, zero sales. Nobody is interested in those books, The African Future, The Global Wellness Economy, and Forged by Fire. Although if you look at the books are detailed plans with billions of dollars at stake, and no one is interested. I feel ashamed. I feel like I've really failed, not just the public, but I feel I've failed myself.
Well, I think, first of all, you probably have to change that assessment. We talked about lethargy, we talked about zombification, all those are real. All those things are going on. We're looking at the mental illness, not mental health, the mental illness in our community that is translating into physical health. The mind, body, spirit connection. Look at us as a people in terms of illness. And so within that context, within that type of milieu, it's very hard to think in terms of a renaissance. It's very hard to think in terms of transformation, because most of our people are not vibrating on that energy. So what is it going to take for us to vibrate on that energy? I mean, I've been in situations and in organizations where you talk about raising the bar. Now I might as well be talking to this wall. I mean, that's just the way it is. This is not to say that we're doomed. It's to say that we have been targets of a process to make us, as Duar said, feel helpless and hopeless. And until we break through that Stockholm syndrome, that psychological barrier that we've encased ourselves in, and we give up our power, until we break from that, we're going to be squeezed even tighter. Because as you say, and as when you talk about the Negro Dilemma and those books, and we talk about eugenics, population control, all of those things are real. It's just that we're overwhelmed. We have survival fatigue. And this is not an excuse. I'm just saying that this is what we're up against. So, Sisyphus, we have to redouble our efforts or figure out another way. Okay, once we get this up to the hill, do something else.
Yeah, makes great sense to me. To our listening audience, I just double checking, make sure everyone gets their words in for today's mastermind program. Going back, we're looking. I see one more comment coming on Rumble. She writes, my son, Queen Mother Kashiba writes, my son-in-law's sister has invested in fish farming in Ghana. She is an economist. Why don't you speak with her? Good idea. Put me in contact. Good idea. And so I will do the best I can to get in contact with this woman who is talking about her success in Ghana. And I was wondering about just doing a whole series with successful businesses that are part of this new AFCFTA economy that is being created, and asking them, what did you do? What do we do to get more involved. I've got so many people who are trying to reach me and get me personally involved with their schemes, etc. But the thing is I can't afford it. I can't afford anything at this point.
Well, but you have ideas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we think you have to have resources, particularly in a capitalistic society. But the first thing you have to have is an idea. And then from that idea, you have to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is your selling point. That's what you bring to the table, a vision. And unfortunately, most of us don't. We have imagination, but it's been suppressed. It's been muted. It's been it's almost like Uruguayan kryptonite has been thrown at us, and it's weakening our imagination because we don't even envision ourselves as the great descendants of great people. We just don't. That's far fetched, or people say, "Oh, well, you're just thinking in the past." No, we're thinking about how we can make it happen now. That's what Sankofa is all about.
That's right. And we have been great through a great deal of human history. We've been at the forefront, and there's no doubt we can restore that order. If we just look at China and India, what they got from their diaspora and where it took all of them, including their nations, backing them up, there is no Chinese person on the planet today whose life outside of China is going to be disrespected by that society. And the same is moving that way with India as well. But the lives of African people around the world are at the lowest end of that national hierarchy, even though we may be a majority, not a majority, but a large percentage of American society. According to my calculations, if you add Afro-Latinos, mixed race, and everyone back in our group, we represent over 62 million of this nation's 340 million population. So that's no small amount. There's so much we could do. The thing about it is to get motivated. There are a couple of comments have come in. Queen Mother, she said, my sister's son-in-law is in Ghana. I'm going to do what best I can to get them on the air. We did have a good conversation with another couple of our scholars here this past week, but we're going to increase that. Nguvu writes, Sawabona, I just got in. We'll have to listen to the recast. He said, I enjoyed Thursday's show. Keep up the good work. And Thursday's show, which has been on, it's a 28-week-long course on learning AI. Thursday's show was incredible. It was a breakthrough to a whole new level. We looked at Claude AI for writing corporate letters and newsletters and these other type of things. And when I asked a particular prompt about Pan-African development, sovereign sustainable development, Claude.ai came up with such an incredible detailed plan that I spoke with it for quite some time, and I think it's going to be my next book.
Well, I think that's the benefit of the technology. The downside is that we're seeing is making us lazy.
Yeah, it's making us lazy and non-competitive as well. So, Brother Nguvu, you heard Thursday's program. Did you hear the last half hour of the program? Because that was when I read back what I'd gotten from interacting with Claude AI. And then I spent the entire next day putting together a PowerPoint presentation that I shared with the group on Friday. And I think we have hit something really incredible with our understanding of how to use AI. But at the same time, Baba Junius, as I realize what AI's greater potential is, I'm realizing how many people are still stuck on just using ChatGPT to search.
Right.
It's just another update of I Googled. I had a conversation with someone and he said, "Oh, I Googled this, I Googled that." I said, "Don't use the term Google anymore. Use one of these other engines, which Google itself uses. Use them and bypass Google because what you're getting from Google, the only results you're getting are their top advertisers."
Right, and their program algorithm
That's
that
right.
not only suppress what's there, but they drive people to certain sites and locations and suppress others.
That's right. Flying Guillotine sending me some words of encouragement. He says, "Kitty, you are a legend." I appreciate that. The legend is having a hard time right now. We're going to get over it and move to our greater potential. Figure out what to do post, and I hate to keep saying it like this, but figure out what to do now that LIBRadio appears to be in its waning phase.
When
Very
you
firmly. We used to have, we were reaching, for this program, as many as 54 simultaneous listeners. Today, we have 16.
Well, when you make that assessment, what are you saying? Are you saying that you're going to have to cut back on some of the streaming services? You're going to have to cut back on some of the servers that you're using? Are you going to have to cut back on content? Or are you just going to just say, hey, well, there's some things, it's just going to go dark for a while?
I think we were going to go dark for a while. My time is now worth far more than what this tiny little audience has been supporting, and so I have to buy my time back and invest it other places.
Well, that's a wise decision. If you're not getting a return on your investment, then you have to think of something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, but the other side of that is, we just talked about the algorithms are suppressing a lot of the traffic. The censorship and the suppression is still alive and well. Even though
That's
they
right.
admitted it, that they were doing it, they haven't stopped. So that's something that we have to take in consideration. That's why I don't get discouraged, because there's not a lot of traffic on my sites, my blogs, or whatever. I have stopped doing my, audio blogs, thinking about starting those again, but I understand what we're up against.
Yeah. And I do encourage people to follow you to the best of their abilities. If nothing else, just your Substack blog that you're writing. That's a very important part of my weekly consumption.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm appreciative of anyone who logs in. We don't get any money from it. They're very, even though there is availability, I don't apply for it. I don't do it because I've always been of the mind that the creator will supply me the information, and the almost like Tahuti will give me what I need. So I'm not dependent on that, because I've always known that if someone can sponsor you or support you, they can also unsponsor you and unsupport you.
Yeah, that's right. We are approaching that hour where we're going to have to wrap it up for today. It has been a good day here on LIBRadio. I cannot help but feel that we're kind of getting back to this position of we're out of money. Ain't no money. But the people, they appear to want it. They really do appear to want it, what we have, what we do. But we may just not be competitive. They can go to a lot of different African-centered, Pan-African, and health-conscious-centered websites on YouTube and other channels as well. There are a number of competitors. We're going to do the best we can with what we got. Let's begin to wrap it up.
Yeah, I just want to point out something, that Trump just signed an executive order about Genesis Mission. It's synopsis is an AI infrastructure power grab, and someone equated it to the Manhattan Project for AI. David O. Sachs has been named the White House AI and crypto czar. It's going to be moving forward with the PayPal mafia and the billionaire bros to expand the infrastructure, things I was talking about earlier, the data centers, all that. They're going full bore. So we need to be aware of that and then figure out how you can circumvent that. I mean, it's going to be part of the system. It's going to be very difficult, particularly when they incorporate the surveillance and the social credit score systems similar to what they have in China. Because I'm going through that right now. I was an issue with my phone, so I really don't have access to anything, and it's all because of a misunderstanding. They haven't got my check, or I guess they'll get it by Monday to pay the bill. Until that's cashed or whatever, I'm in the dark. But I'm okay with all that. But it's just I'm thinking that okay, so this is how it's going to be when this full AI gulag comes, where you have to be tethered to the system, or else you're a non-person.
Yeah, and slipping into that digital obscurity, that digital oblivion, is very risky at this particular time for that to happen. But we're going to keep moving forward. Did you get everything in for today you wanted to get in, Papa Juniors?
Yes, and I've hoped that the listeners and viewers understand the complex situation that Keaty's in. He's bubbling with energy, bubbling with ideas, just bursting at the seams, wanting to do things, but the support's not there. So if you can, be as supportive as you can, or even just like Queen Kashiba, give him some information for some people that he can reach out to and give him a boost in terms of ideas and maybe form partnerships where he'll get a greater return on his investment, because it's so important, because the dystopian big brother scenario that's coming is going to make George Orwell and Aldous Huxley's scenarios look like child's play.
That's right. That's right. And further, this building on that, never neglect your health. Of all the things we talk about, health, we should consider to be our greatest wealth. And many people, well, they understand that. It's a short poem, it rhymes, it's a beautiful idea and a thought, but they neglect their health every day for chasing the Yankee dollar, which the Yankee dollar is running away from us faster than ever. So maybe we should go back to that health, reclaim that health, and maybe we can extend that health into all aspects of our life, including our wealth. Would you agree?
I agree. Not only that, the goal is to make us ill, to make us unhealthy, so that they can easily enslave us. And so, as Dewar said, a person who is engaged in self-mastery, self-actualization, is less easier to manipulate and control. And so one of the ways they want to keep us is under their thumb is to make us ill. So we're dependent on their quote unquote healthcare system.
That's right. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and put a cap on it for today. I want to thank you so much, Papa Juniors, for bringing your wisdom, your insight. You are, of course, our elder anchor of this esteemed panel. And as such, we are all so very grateful for what you bring to your LIBRadio family.
Well, we thank you for the opportunity, and we will continue to be as supportive as we can. Stay strong, everyone.
All right. Peace and prosperity to you, Baba Junius, and to each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Your kind words are very important. Flying Guillotine, he says, your competitors don't even ask the right questions or let the right info out currently. Thank you. That does mean a lot. That means so much more than what you might even imagine it means. We have trained ourselves to lift our own selves up by our bootstraps, as well as to lift up all of those around us who would will to be in a leading group. On your favorite, we aim to be your favorite. We are LIBRadio, LIBDB. We are living in black.com. So till the next time, I wish you all peace and prosperity. On your favorite, we aim to be your favorite. We are LIBRadio, LIBTV. We are living in black.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.